Welcome to the Love is Our Nature podcast. I'm Caesar, your host, and I am here with Rasmus Ronholt. I call him the medicine man himself. Thank you for being here with us, Rasmus. I'm going to allow him to share quite a bit about who he is. I don't think I could do justice to an introduction myself. So, how you doing, Rasmus?
I'm doing good.
That's great. Before we even get into introducing you and asking you questions, I asked Rasmus if he'd be so kind to open this podcast episode the same way he opens the medicine song circles where I met him, which is an event that he leads every now and then here in Santa Teresa, Costa Rica, which, by the way, we're in Santa Teresa, Costa Rica, and Rasmus was also so kind to open his house, his beautiful home here in Santa Teresa. So thank you for that, my brother. And if you'd be so kind, why don't you please open us up, unless there's anything else you'd like to say beforehand.
Thank you for having me. Honored to have a conversation. I'm very curious about where this conversation is going to go.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to sing this song. It's a song that sort of just wrote itself in like maybe 30 minutes a couple of years back in Bali, for the specific purpose of opening a circle.
You said back in Bali?
It was in Bali, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And the song is heavily influenced by the feeling that I had seen in people going into their first ayahuasca ceremonies. So it's a song all about just, hey, come sit here in the circle, breathe out, chill out, everything's going to be fine. We're going to go through this together. But it works in many contexts. I love the song as well, so I'm happy to sing it there.
Amazing. And it's an original, like you said,
yes.
right? It's 30 minutes. Wow.
Something like that. And then I had to, there was some work with the chords and stuff, but the words were kind of just there waiting to be sung somehow.
Yeah. All right, let's hear it.
Come on, let's begin. It's time to join the circle, like leaves drifting in the wind, finding roots again. Come closer, gather round, and join your hearts in prayer. Look what you found, a sacred space. Come on, take my hands. Let go, surrender this needless need to control the dance. I am with you through it all. And trust your heart in the hands of ancient healing. Nothing to do, just breathe out and don't run from what you're feeling. Come on, rest your mind. You've been bleeding thoughts like crazy. Peace will find. Let's slow things down. Sit here and close your eyes. It's safe to journey inward. Side by side we go below. So come on, take my hands. Let go, surrender this needless need to control the dance. I am with you all the way. And trust your heart in the hands of ancient healing. Nothing to do, just breathe out and don't run from what you're feeling.
Wow. Just beautiful. Thank you for that gift. And such a beautiful song. I didn't know till just now that it was an original. I could have sworn you picked that one out from some medicine songbook.
Yeah, no, what happened was, and we can go through like more of this story, but if we just jump right into it, I found myself in Bali after having spent a year in deep work with ayahuasca. And I had this idea, this vision that I felt, and I always wanted to write and sing music that was my own, but I never had. But I had this feeling that, hey, somewhere inside me there's an album that just tells a story of the full ceremony from beginning to end. Not necessarily in words, but in the energy and the feeling of the songs, which if you have done any work with medicine, you will know that there's a lot of peculiar places you go through a ceremony. And,
oh yeah.
So that was the idea, and that was to be the first song. And I never moved on with that idea. Like I sat in Bali and I had this vision that I was going to spend, I was going to structure my life and I was going to write music every morning and I wrote one song, and then I kind of like life happened and other stuff came along. And but I've written a couple of songs since that kind of go in the same, that attach to that opening song, and somehow I feel like maybe that idea is still alive, and maybe one day will happen.
Yeah, that's so cool. Well, yeah, I mean, I'm excited to dive into this whole conversation with you. And why don't we start a bit with some of your background, like where are you from, and just a little bit about before. I know this is relatively new for you, this whole medicine path, right? So like,
yeah.
Well, let's hear a little bit about Rasmus before that.
Yeah, I'm a 40-year-old guy, born and raised in Denmark, in probably, I would assume, one of the most safe and secure and worry-free environments in the world. Like the suburb of Copenhagen, 30 minutes north of Copenhagen. My main concern in terms of like safety and life there was, I don't even know that I had a concern, to be honest. Just saying, it was a very very safe environment. I moved from Denmark when I was 33, so 7 years ago, 32 maybe. I moved to Malaysia.
Mm.
At that time, I had spent my youth playing basketball, then taken a degree in engineering, gotten a job at an office, which I quit after 2 years, then started working freelance, doing IT development jobs, and I brought that with me to Malaysia. Lived in Malaysia as I had a base in Kuala Lumpur for 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Traveled the east a little bit while there. And curious encounters had me then move from Malaysia to Costa Rica in 2018,
Mm-hmm.
end of 2018, where I spent a year at a retreat center a little bit south of here, down closer to the area of Dominical and Quepos.
A whole year in the retreat center?
Yeah, 10 months.
Wait, what were you doing those 10 months in the retreat center?
I signed up for a work exchange.
Mm-hmm.
So I was living at the retreat center, but it turned very quickly into, the center was going through some really profound changes at the time. The founder of the place he was dying from cancer,
Mm-hmm.
and he did pass away just after I arrived. He wasn't at the space. He was in LA, I believe. But it meant that there was not that many people at the place, and so we were, at the time I was there in the beginning, we were 3 guys and 1 girl kind of running the whole place, and which means that the people that came for retreats to sit with ayahuasca relied more on me and my brother David from Sweden, who also was an exchange kind of, or what you call work exchange intern kind of thing. Our presence there was needed more than what you would normally kind of, I think, expect from that role. And we had a couple of very intense first months with.
So you were facilitating the ceremonies for others?
I was supporting the space. I was not facilitating ceremonies. People were coming up from the outside to do that.
Mm-hmm.
We would sit in as many ceremonies as the space would allow, as there was room for, to have the experience with people that were there. But no, we had no official role in the ceremonies.
Right.
But it was a very intense kind of life-changing experience.
Yeah, I'm curious. Sounds like a big commitment, signing up for 10 months at a retreat center.
So I didn't know at the time what I was going into, right? What I knew was, it's always about a girl, right? And what I knew was that I had fallen in love with a girl that didn't want me, and that spoke highly of ayahuasca, and had let's call it ties in Costa Rica, and that sent me on this path. Like, it sent me to where I ended up going. What I thought it was going to be was probably more like 2 months or so of cleaning the kitchen and maybe doing a couple of ceremonies and doing some work on the computer while being there and everything.
Right.
Instead, it ended up being a deep dive into the world of plant medicine.
Wow.
And healing work in general. Like, one thing is, I realized how much work I needed to do for myself, but at the same time, I also realized that even with all that work that I could see I needed to do for myself, there are so many people that really, really, really are struggling internally in a way that I will never fully comprehend. And there really is a need for people and spaces to allow individuals to work their stuff. Because we have a lot of stuff to work.
Yeah, definitely. Once you look, or once you take a look.
Yeah.
Right.
So anyways, you said, tell me a little bit about yourself. Yes, so basically I'm a guy who spent 33 years in Denmark. Then I moved to Malaysia, spent 4 more years there, basically living the same life of kind of just trying to make money and get drunk and laid, essentially. And then at 37, my life changed.
When you went to Costa Rica.
Yeah. And so it's been a 3-year path now. Well, so it changed a little bit before because it changed with the heartbreak, which is such a blessing to really fully and truly have your heart broken. It's fantastic.
Say more about
fantastic
that.
experience. I mean, wow.
Let's hear how that is a gift and how it was for you.
Well, I don't think I realized how empty my life truly was until I saw just how sad I was because that one girl didn't want me. And I'm deeply grateful for that. It sent me off on I spent about a year kind of moving around in Myanmar, Cambodia, and Thailand, kind of just like visiting temples and doing meditation retreats and things, journaling, singing, and just figuring out what do I want my life to be about, what's going on with this.
At that point, you took off work?
Yeah, I had sort of ended a project in Malaysia at that time, and I stopped working there.
Nice. It's always good to just be able to leave that behind.
I've been extremely lucky also because I've stopped working at times because I'd been able to make some money for like in short periods of time, make good money, and then I could spend them.
You're a programmer, right?
Yeah. So at times I just take off work and I could do that because I had some money, but there's been many other times where I've been extremely blessed to have a family to support me.
Yeah.
And do everything in their power to not make me feel like a little failed kid that doesn't know how to make his life come together in a way that you traditionally would expect a 40-year-old man to have his life together, right?
Yeah.
Because in some aspects I don't, but in other aspects that's exactly why I'm able to do some of the things that I'm able to do.
Yeah. I see. Yeah. Okay, and you've been in Costa Rica since?
I spent a year here, and then I went to visit some friends in the US. I went back home to Denmark a little bit, and then I went back to Malaysia and to Bali, where I wrote the song like after the year here. And I actually only came back to Costa Rica because of COVID.
Okay.
I was in LA, and
I
was in LA. I was having actually a really good time. I was living in Venice Beach and working from an office in Santa Monica. And I had my a little bicycle, and I would ride up and down the Venice Beach on the
boardwalk
every day.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
Skate park, that's by there.
Yeah.
I've been by there,
Yeah, and I used to play basketball, so just actually living.
Did you ball people up? Because you're like 6'5" or something.
Yeah. No, I stopped playing. But I used to be.
You need to go shoot some hoops, so you can embarrass me. All right. And then COVID, and you said Costa Rica.
I didn't. The girl that I loved did.
The same one.
Yes.
She's still in the picture.
She was in a different city. In the US, Costa Rica was closing their borders. She was like, "Let's go," and I was like, "Okay." And so we went. We moved in together, having not really ever dated. I don't regret it for 1 second. I think it's one of the most beautiful journeys I've had in my life, and I love her to death. But I don't really know that any one of us knew what we were getting ourselves into by just moving in together like that.
Right. Yeah.
But that was the reason I came here.
Okay.
And right now I don't have an urge to go anywhere. With the current kind of development of the world,
Mm-hmm.
I not only don't have an urge, like I'm not going back to the Western world in the foreseeable future with the trend and trajectory of both political but also like just societal tendencies and how people view life. I'm not interested.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember having this conversation like in the way beginning, back in I think April or May with my parents. I'm like, guys, I know this is just beginning, but I have a feeling that I might not ever really come back, just so
Right.
you know.
Yeah. What is that way that people view life, you say, that you're not interested in?
And people are choosing a feeling of what do you call it, like when you're being saved by something outside yourself, like a saving grace in technology, rather than living just in the reality that we are part of nature. And I don't feel it anymore.
Yeah.
This whole discussion about like, should you have a vaccine, should you this, should you that, should you wear a mask, I think you can argue numbers and statistics and all that, and if you have one point of view, you'll be able to find the numbers to support that. If you have another, you can do that. But I just honestly think it's all at best ridiculous and at worst really, really fucking scary. And so I don't want to be part of it.
Right. I hear you.
I'm having the conversations with especially my dad once in a while, whether, you know, is there a responsibility to kind of be part of pulling the world in a different direction? And if so, do you need to be in the middle of the society you want to change? And it could be. But right now, I don't see. No.
Well, you're definitely doing your part with the community down here, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
and it's perhaps a good time to share the way I met Rasmus was through the one and only Darren Austin Hall, who was in episode 8.
I listened to that. I heard the whole thing. I did.
Oh, wow. Yeah. What did you think about that?
I thought it was good. I mean, Darren is a good friend of mine. He's become a very close friend of mine. I knew him before I came here because I actually met him at the retreat center that I was living at. He was doing a sound healing, like a retreat, teaching how to work with sound, like not. Yeah, teaching his methods, basically. That's right. So I met him there, and one of my really good close friends, one of the only Danish friends that I really has kept in touch with, Natalie was at his retreat, and I came back to the retreat center, and it was just So I met him before, and I met him when, like, after a couple of weeks being here, and it's grown into a more and more like a very solid friendship.
For sure.
Authentic friendship.
And you are collabing right now in some music together, right? From what I saw.
We are, once in a while we'll do stuff together, and some of it is planned and most of it is just whenever it feels right. But he's by far the most experienced in terms of creating experiences with people. And so it's mostly whenever he's feeling like I can add something, he'll ask, and I will always say yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was listening to that, and I was reflecting on, wow, yeah, he's been on this path for like 12, 13, 14 years.
Yeah.
So I'm very honored that you're asking me for this conversation, but for most of what we're going to be talking about, I'm a baby. Like I've only just taken my first steps.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you spent 10 months in that retreat center. I mean, I can only imagine what kind of transformational experience you get to have 10 months in a space like that, holding space for people. And yeah, I was at Darren's when I came from to Santa Teresa from Potrero, where I spent my first 2 months in Costa Rica. I landed straight to his place with all my luggage because he had the ecstatic dance on Sunday. And we have the really cool night of dancing and sweating, and then it winds down. And as we were closing, that's when I started hearing you sing with your guitar, and I was like, wow, like there's something about that guy's singing. And I don't mean this as flattery at all, you know. I wouldn't usually say like something like that about like just some guy singing, you know. Mm-hmm. But when I heard your voice and your singing, and it just I felt it had so much feeling behind it, so much heart behind it, even like pain behind it, you know, but in a beautiful way where like it's almost like using that pain for good in some way. I don't even know what I'm saying at this point. I'll ask you to share some more about like what your experiences of sharing your music in a moment. But yeah, that's where I was lucky to cross paths with you. You shared that you were going to be doing a Medicine Song Circle on Wednesdays. And I'm like, I'm there. Whatever it is, take my money. And they're like, it's free. So I'm like, all right, well, I'm there always. So let's talk about medicine music. What is medicine music?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, who knows? I think I'm making this up right now.
Perfect.
So I think actually it's easier to define what music is not medicine, which is only all of the stuff that's come in the last like century or so. So anything that's been produced for the sake of making money has moved away from music being medicine. Music was always medicine. It's a way of connecting in yourself with a voice, with an expression that is beyond words. And it's a way of relaying that and connecting with other people, and to have them. There's a sense of it's almost like a training of empathy that comes with music. Is that you are allowed the ability to feel another person's feeling without understanding their words. And I think what you feel from me in that context is that I'm not trying to sell you. I'm not trying to write a beautiful record that can be sold or streamed on Spotify. I'm just translating my feelings, my emotions in that moment. And for whatever reason, I'm able to do it in a way that you feel, hey, that's authentic, that feels true. It's not just like pretty. It's true.
Yeah.
And I think all music from the beginning of time has been medicine. There is definitely today a distinction between songs that are written with the intent of, let's say, nurture, love, and healing.
Yeah.
Where does it have its roots? I mean, the music that I consider my medicine music has its roots in Central and South America and around plants, and ayahuasca specifically, but also other plant medicines. But that's not the only way to talk about medicine music, right? And if you go to a kirtan, and that's just as much medicine in my point of view. It's just not my medicine.
Right.
But yeah.
What I want to ask, the word medicine, right? If we look it up in the dictionary, it's going to have a very specific definition, right? Like something that you take to heal you, make you better, cure you. And growing up, I never tied that word next to to music.
Yeah.
Right.
So I thank you. I'm going to interrupt you because I
Yeah.
can actually be I can be a lot more specific, and thank you for prompting that thought in me. So
Yeah.
for me, when I have a circle and when people come to sit in the circle, the difference for me is that I try to sing with the intent of having people feel better, simply like have an experience of well-being, or dealing with whatever thoughts or trauma or whatever it is. But I try to, at all times when I go into that space, to stay away from the sentiment of singing to be appreciated, which I feel has taken over the music industry completely. Like
Right.
the concept that you are performing for someone to be appreciated, to get validation, to make money, or to simply be told that you are good.
Right. Yeah, I can see how people end up, and musicians end up. It seems to me like a bit of a trap, right? Because if it's such a strong passion of theirs, and they want to make it their full-time deal, they kind of have to strive for some level of attention, like by maybe a record company or an agency or something, right? And it's almost like they have to make it in a way their best. It's in their best interest that they do get noticed, right? So how would somebody not get caught in that?
Well, I think it's just extremely hard. I think all evidence points towards it being almost impossible for normal human beings.
Yeah.
And it would be for me too, that if someone came and offered me a shitload of money to sing my songs, I would probably fall into the same trap.
Yeah. Which they might at any moment. We'll see how many downloads.
I doubt it. I think what I can do is not what the market would pay a lot of money for. So therefore, I don't think I'm at risk for that to happen.
Right. It's definitely a new market emerging. Right. I hear there's something called the conscious music genre. Right. So there's a conscious music genre. You got, what's his name, Nako Bear, who's pretty blown up. I don't
even know.
You don't know who that is? Yeah, well, good. But yeah, there's other musicians that seem to be like in demand. But yeah, that's one thing that I so much respect about you. That for me was evident immediately. Like it was just authenticity, essence, no agenda or intention. You sharing your heart. So that was beautiful. Tell me, Rasmus, what has being the source of this medicine music provided you?
I think beyond anything else, or above anything else, I should say, I think I have a sense of long-term purpose that I didn't have in the past. Not knowing exactly where it's going to take me, I do know that that somehow I have chosen or been chosen, whichever way you want to look at it, to spend my life devoted to figuring out how to evoke certain emotions and paths towards healing by using music and song specifically.
Yeah.
Like I will never be a fantastic guitarist. I won't. But sometimes, like occasionally, you hit the right moment and I will be able to do things with my voice that I will feel myself, and I'm highly self-critical. Sometimes it happens that I'm like, you know what, that was actually really, really interesting what just happened. And if you can find a way to do that more consistently, both just for yourself, but with people, like there's something there. And it's something more than just having a little hobby on the side. It's something that can mean something.
Yeah.
And I'm excited about like going after that.
That's awesome.
So there's a sense of purpose, and I know from experience that I can move people. It's not everyone that's moved by it. I don't think there's no medicine that's for everyone, right? And some people don't connect with me through music, but some do, and some do really strongly.
Right.
And those that do really strongly, they will tell me and reflect back to me that it made a difference. And that, I mean, honestly, that just feels really good.
Yeah. That's wonderful. And how has music been medicine for you? Like in your life, like in your own experience, your own journey?
I think it's a part of, it's playing a role more than anything else, playing a role in teaching me how to live my life less concerned with how the world is seeing me and more concerned with what's driving me from the inside. I think definitely music before ayahuasca. I did sing a little bit in the end, and I had a couple of gigs at some bars, playing some tunes. It wasn't really working, and also I was extremely nervous. Like I was really, really fucking nervous, and very, very concerned with if I was doing well and if people liked me.
Yeah.
And then I sat in my first couple of ceremonies.
Ayahuasca.
Yeah, and first ceremony didn't happen anything much for me music-wise. Like we sang some songs and I sang along, and it was fun, and I had a beautiful journey. Second ceremony was very, very small. So it was just the three of us, like a very very closed circle, and I spent I think 4 or 5 hours after having my purge and talking to dead people, beating in the floor of the maloca in a constant rhythm, and just words would just come out. And it wasn't a song. It was like rhythmical and lyrical, and it just kept coming. It wouldn't stop, and I didn't know where it was coming from. I can feel it in my body. I can't remember the words, but I can still feel it talking about it.
Wow.
And then the night after that, we added one guy to the group, and this guy brought a guitar and I believe some drums. And I wasn't singing throughout. At the end of the ceremony, in the morning, we were sitting from midnight to sunrise. At the end of the ceremony, I picked up the guitar and I started playing some of the tunes that I played in the past, and it just felt different. My voice was different, my expression was different, and my freedom was different. And I sang one song, and the guy looked at me like, "You can do that, and you've been quiet all night. Like, what the hell? Like, where were you? We need you playing during the ceremony." And I played another song, like a really beautiful Jimi Hendrix song that I used to sing, but that I would sing sort of like shy and hesitant.
Yeah.
And it would just
the lid came off,
blowing out of me, and
wow.
Then at one point I jumped one octave up from where I would normally sing it, and the thing is though, you can't really ever be sure that it's as good as you think it is in the moment, because everything feels so good in that, like when you're under medicine. But it felt so good and so pure that I literally threw the guitar to the floor. I was like, what the hell was that? That was not me. Really? That was the experience I had, was like, this is not me. Like, what's going on? I'm not singing this song. And I think that is
this was after
I'm still under medicine, but it's on the 6th or 7th hour or something, just about to come out. But it's a very distinct feeling that something else is using me right now to play music, and it's not me, and I don't know what's going on, and it's really cool and it's really interesting, but it's also scary.
What was scary about it?
Good question. I don't know, but it was enough to maybe more like shocking. Just a very new experience. And so I spent the next 8 to 10 months at the retreat center, using every opportunity that I got to explore that territory in ceremony, singing whenever the people that were serving the medicine would allow me to. Obviously, like during the most of the ceremony, it's not really a space for like anyone to just kind of sing their songs, but coming out, and in the end, and occasionally during the ceremony, I would be asked, "Hey, you got a song that's like without guitar, obviously, right?" And so I spent a lot of time exploring in that space. And I mean, very briefly, I think explained, I would say that my life currently is about understanding and finding the keys for myself to unlock whatever is there with medicine in life in general. So how can I take whatever it is that allows me to be so free and so I don't know, everything just flows perfectly. When I have medicine and some kind of instrument, like even just the flute, I have a flute inside. I'm not really that good playing that flute, but when I played in medicine, it's hard to explain. It's like honestly, the best explanation is something like this. It's like I've played that instrument for like thousands of years. I just forgot. But when I'm in ceremony, my body remembers.
Yeah.
And I don't know what's happening, but it's happening.
Wow.
And I'm sure it feels more profound than it actually is. Like if I had recordings of all the ceremonies, I'm sure it wouldn't be as impressive as I make it up to be.
Maybe.
But that is part of music as well. Is it's not really about like true or false. It's about the feeling it creates, right? And the feeling it creates in that space is unmistakable and very profound and very liberating.
Yeah. One of my questions was going to be to ask you about something that I had heard you say to me at one point, which was ayahuasca taught you how to sing, right? And I think you kind of started to explain that a bit already.
Yeah.
Is there something else you would say about that? How it is that ayahuasca taught you how to sing?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still learning.
Yeah.
But the biggest lesson that I'm learning is it has to do with trust and allowing yourself to be vulnerable enough to explore the expressions as they sort of arrive in you in the moment. If that makes sense.
Yes.
Without being afraid of not having the skill to actually portray them well enough. And that's hard in the life that we are currently placed in, because we put so much importance on how we are received by the world. And so every time anyone opens their mouth, they're concerned with who's hearing me and how are they judging me.
Yeah.
And it's a funny thing with song, because it seems like every single human being on this planet at some point was told in their childhood, you can't sing, don't sing.
Yeah.
And it's such a profound just wound that we all carry, the belief that the voice I can create is not good enough that anyone would want to hear it.
You have that belief?
No, I don't have that belief now, but it's but I've definitely been told.
Yeah.
I was told, and I know where it comes from. It's not like out of like my dad didn't want me to suffer, but my dad told me, hey, you know, you can't sing, neither can I, but we can't sing, so don't like. And I think part of it is also a generational thing where parents of the past maybe 50 years or so were very concerned with how their children was gonna like do with education and stuff. What kind of job were they gonna be able to get? And no parent wants their kid to pursue music because music is such a cutthroat industry and so few make it. And
right, risky financially, for sure.
So, but
when you see yourself as a musician, what's your biggest fear with music and your own path with music?
I think I know by now that it's something that I cannot stop doing. And I think my biggest fear is that because it weighs so heavily on my soul that I have to do this, that it's gonna inhibit me from creating for myself and my nearest family other things.
So like it might be such a big burden as a responsibility that it might prevent you from
gift or burden. Right. But right now the fear is that I won't be able, for instance, to have the beautiful big house that I'm dreaming of, right?
Yeah. Because you'd be what?
Because I wouldn't be making the kind of money that you would need.
Right. Okay. It's a reasonable fear. Yeah. Thank you for sharing.
I don't even know if I want to ever pursue making money with music.
Why is that?
I think part of it is insecurity around whether or not I would be good enough as a musician. Like, I think as a soul, as a human, I'm just as good as anyone else, and I believe I have something of value. But as a musician, I don't. Like you said, like, how do you say, you addressed me as a musician. I don't consider myself a musician. Right? I consider myself someone who dabbles.
That is so interesting to me. Because, I mean, I'm 33 and I've heard people strumming guitars many times throughout my life and singing their tunes along with their strumming, and then there's YouTube, right, and the internet, and I've heard tons of those, and there's some very impressive people that do like ridiculous tricks with the guitar, right? I'm sure you've heard, but you're definitely up there. For the benefit of the doubt, I'm not going to say you're the number one up there for me, in my opinion, but at least very close to it,
Well, I appreciate that, and people tell me once in a while, and I remember the first time someone asked me after a ceremony, hey, where can I find you recorded music? I was like, what? But the general response inside of me is like, yeah, nah, I don't know why like you particularly like my music so much, but it's not that good. That's the emotional response inside of me, and the thing is, I consider that my journey to get rid of that response. And it doesn't matter how many people will tell me that they like my music, it's not going to change my emotional response to it.
Yeah, it's one of those things, right? Like the healing process.
Yeah, I mean,
you're never going to get it from
I could get a contract and have like sell millions of records or whatever, and I would still have that emotional response because I haven't dealt with why is it that I don't believe that I have something to offer in this space. And I do, by the way, like it's not a black and white thing. But I do consider it fully to be my own responsibility to get to a point where I don't know, where I can be beyond that. Like I don't know. I'm gonna just turn on this thing.
Yeah, we get to watch the beautiful sunset from here, which is amazing.
Are you gonna edit all of this stuff, or
not as of yet? We'll see. Yeah, what I hear in everything that you're saying is just an incredible level of humility and modesty, you know, which is a beautiful thing, and it perhaps is one of the things that keeps that sort of essence and authenticity there, you know, and I can see how that would be a challenge for a musician to carry forth, growing as a musician with retaining that level of humility and modesty, which, by the way, reminds me of a beautiful song you sing called Humble.
Yeah.
What is your favorite medicine song to sing?
It's one of them, because there's history. The song, I don't even know if it's called Humble, but it's about humbling yourself to elements of nature. But it's one of the songs that I would sing consistently in ceremony. The one year at interning, and it's one of the songs that people consistently would reflect back to me that, wow, when you sang that song, I was really moved. And it's part of a very special kind of ritual that my dear, I don't even know what to call her. The curandera who serves me the medicine.
Yeah.
She would have a water ceremony at the end of a second night, if it's a 2-night cycle, where like people start together in a circle, and she would like send her prayers to the water, and then she would normally kind of just look at me and be like, "Can you play the guitar now?" and I'd be like in the corner somewhere, like throwing up or something. And as soon as
come back from hyperspace.
Yeah, exactly. But it's something magical about that space. As soon as she requests that of me, I'm like, yes, I'm right here, and I'm ready, you know. And I was always ready, and I would like fall over my feet and stumble and not be able to like move around, and then I sit down and somehow the fingers just works and the words come out.
Wow.
And
well, I want to summon that curandera's spirit right now.
Yeah,
and
I could spend many hours just talking about the beautiful experiences I've had with some of the women that I met in that space.
Yeah. Well, can we be so fortunate to hear you play Humble?
Yes.
Unless you have one that you prefer.
No, we can.
All right, let's hear it.
You want to hear that song? You want to sing that song?
Sing it. I'm gonna cheer you on. What a treat this episode is.
So actually, I don't know. It's not funny. At least not funny. Haha. The people that facilitated the first ceremony I sat in is actually the people that we sang this song in the first ceremony. But they were of a completely different tradition in terms of medicine work than though the people that I ended up working more consistently with. And so I brought this song with me from the first ceremony into that space, and it worked really well. And
perfect.
And what's beautiful about this song is, so I'm going to tell a little bit about the ceremony.
Yeah, that's right.
Because what would happen is we'd basically been through 2 nights of ceremonies at this point, right? And we're on the second night, and everyone has gone through like really, really deep journeys. And like with this particular medicine that she's serving, I would get to guess that maybe like 8 out of 10 people have deep purges. It's not normal to just have a blissful night. People go through some dark corners of their inner being in these journeys, and so everyone is like really just worn out from battle, basically. And she carries water as a I don't even know. She would explain that better than me. But she will sit in front of the water, pray to the water as a it's a very special experience to just sit and hear her talk to the water and ask for little things and be grateful for many things. And then afterwards, she will tell me, okay, we need your voice now. Now, please sing, brother.
Wow.
And then she would take the water and she would, while I'm singing, she would walk around the circle and have a tiny ceremony with each of the people in the ceremony. And so while people are having this intimate one-on-one moment with our medicine woman, getting their first drink of water maybe for the whole night, I'm singing the song, and it just kind of loops in cycles until she's gone all the way through. And then in the end, when everyone has had their water, it's like people have started to sing along more and more, and then all of a sudden, like the whole Maloka is singing, like sometimes really loud, and it's just a very...
Maloka is the structure where people are,
yes,
right?
is where we have the ceremony.
Yeah.
And it's...
and I mean...
a lot of special moments like that.
Being familiar with the words of the song now myself, I could see how that would be such a powerful song in that moment. And we're going to include all the beautiful crickets on this amazing mountain that we're in as part of your choir.
Humble yourself to the sound of the water. You gotta bend down low. Humble yourself to the sound of the water. You gotta know how it flows, and we will lift each other up. Oh, higher and higher, and we shall lift each other up. Humble yourself to the force of the sun. You gotta bend down low. Humble yourself to the force of the sun. You gotta know what he shows, and we shall lift each other up. Oh, higher and higher, and we shall lift each other up. Humble yourself to the light of the moon. You gotta bend down low. Humble yourself to the light of the moon. You gotta shine with her glow, and we shall lift each other up. Oh, higher and higher, and we shall lift each other up. Humble yourself to the spirit of the forest. You gotta bend down low. Humble yourself to the spirit of the forest. Don't be afraid to let go, and we shall lift each other up. Oh, higher and higher, and we shall lift each other up. Yeah, we shall lift each other up. Higher and higher, and we shall lift each other up. We shall lift each other up. Yeah, we shall lift each other up. Higher and higher, and we shall lift each other up.
Dude, I could just listen to you. Just make this a song episode, where we just hear you play the whole time. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
That was beautiful. Yeah.
So was that the end?
I don't know. I don't. You know, it's funny how we didn't say, we kind of improvised this whole setup coming here, and normally I check my phone for all the time, but I can't check my phone.
Can I say something to people?
Of course, please.
I feel like I've been rambling on about like little kind of. I feel like I've just been talking, and I have no idea whether this is interesting to anyone. But it's funny how I really appreciate the ability to have this type of conversation with you, because I realize it's actually might be one of the first times that I've sat down and tried to tell just any part of that story. Because what unfortunately happens, I think, in life is when you sit down with your brother or your sister or your family, or when I say brother or sister, I just mean friends, because I'm hippie like that.
Yeah.
What happens typically is we don't have time for each other to fully listen to the full story. We just want, hey, just get to the point.
Mm-hmm.
So when did you go and have, how many ayahuasca ceremonies did you have? Like, I don't care about like the time you spend in Bali. Like, it's like we don't have time for that stuff. So I don't think I've ever really kind of tried just in the moment to figure out like what this whole story really even means or how it comes together for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I appreciate that a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I'm
there's
happy.
lots more to tell.
Yeah, I'm sure. And that's, I think, one of the beautiful things about it, and is that there really is no target. You know, my inspiration for starting the podcast was to just kind of broaden the horizon for our society, because I've been so lucky to have my own horizon broadened thanks to the people that I've crossed paths with, thanks to plant medicine. And it's not a very popular subject, you know, like shamanism isn't an elective in college as far as I'm concerned, you know. Otherwise I would have taken it. But hearing your story, hearing your own experience with it, but more so hearing you, period, is such a gift, because, you know, I found it pretty ironic. Earlier you called yourself a baby, right? In this whole journey of journey within, inner healing, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Yet, as I'm here listening to you, I'm like, wow, like Rasmus is the real deal, and the fact that you don't claim yourself to be one is even more so what I think makes you that. You know, so I think it's been valuable. I'm pretty sure people will find it valuable.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, man. Is there anything, I'm going to give you an opportunity to share whatever contact information you want. I know people ask you at the end of your medicine circles, song circles, how can they hear your music, and usually don't have much to send them, but I'll give you a chance to do that for sure. But before we go into that, is there anything else that, well, here's one thing, I'd ask it this way, because I like asking this question, is what are you most passionate about?
Self-exploration.
And why is that?
I've never asked myself that question, like why? I think because very first ceremony, I realized just the mere ability of, quick backstory to this, right? There's generally, if you're talking to anyone who is on the path of plant medicines, any psychedelic or natural occurring kind of altering of your state of mind and being.
Yep.
You typically either believe that you are in contact with something outside of yourself or in contact with something inside of yourself, right? So some people firmly believe that we are dealing with a spirit and with entities in the surrounding that you get access to by eating these plants. Other people believe that you get access to what's deep within you and we're closer to the core of your soul, so to speak. I'm in the camp that believe that everything that I experience comes from within. I haven't written off entities and spirits that we can't see, but that's not really the point for me. And the point is what's creating my experience, and for me it comes from within. And I saw very, very quickly in the first ceremony, but then for sure in the next couple as well, just how profoundly different realities we can create for our experience with the help of these plants.
Yeah.
And one of the first realizations I had was that, wow, I mean, the reality that I can experience in this space is so different from the reality that I experience when I'm not eating these plants, but that reality is just as made up. It's all just an inner experience. And so from that moment, it's like, okay, there is nothing else. Like, there's nothing else to explore than your inner experience. Like, you can go anywhere, talk to anyone, but it's still your inner experience that you're dealing with. And so for me, I think that just became like, I have it written as one of my first kind of, I keep a journal sort of on my computer that I edit almost every day. It's like a vision of my life, things that are important to me. And when you ask me that question, the reason I pick up that specific one is because that's right at the top, is that I'm like, the essence of my life is that I'm exploring my inner experience, and I do believe that is generally the most efficient pathway towards what we all want in life, not just for ourselves, but for our societies. Is that the individual truly fully looks within and understands better. And this is like, it's not a new thing. Like, this is the concept behind the know thyself on the Greek kind of thing.
That's right.
I think there is nothing more important than that. Everything else is just a grasp outside of yourself in the hope of getting a pleasurable experience.
What does it provide people to know thyself, to know themselves?
Adventure and peace at the same time.
Beautiful.
I think.
Yeah. All right, brother. Well, thank you so much for this conversation. I feel like we could just go on and on. And I know we actually have you're doing a workshop very soon in which I have the...
We're going to put you in ceremony.
Yeah. I have the very fortunate chance to be in it. I don't know what exactly I signed up for, because it's not going to be a typical medicine song circle.
I don't even know completely myself, but I trust fully it's going to be magical.
Yeah. What is it that I'm going to do?
You'll have to do like a debrief.
Yeah, I'll have to do a debrief after. So, please, if there's people out there that want to hear more about you, from you, how can they do that?
I'm still kind of trying to figure out for myself, like, how I conduct myself online. The best way right now is Instagram. It's where I'm most consistently putting my thoughts on my music.
It's at Rasmus
Ronholt.
R-O-N. Well, Rasmus R-A-S-M-U-S
Ronholt.
All right, very good.
I'm not super consistent there either. But it is the most consistent space for me currently.
All right, perfect. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we close?
No, thank you. Thank you for being curious, open, and having an authentic interest in my story.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
For sure. My pleasure. All right, brother. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
You've heard it. The medicine song man himself, as I call him, Rasmus Ronholt. Follow
feel
him on
about
Instagram.
Don't know how I feel about that. You can call me medicine song baby.
We'll get him used to it.
I do have actually. Last thing is a funny story.
Let's hear it.
I do have a name actually. I was named by the fire in Mexico in a peyote ceremony.
Oh.
It's quite interesting because the shaman there, I'd never met him in my life, and we're 60 people, and there's a fire ceremony. Then each person is guided around the fire up to the shaman, and who, with closed eyes, he doesn't even see who's there. He will chant all along. This is like a 2-hour thing where everyone, I think maybe even more than 2 hours, and he will give you. You will be what do you call it when you are baptized by the fire or whatever? You will be given a name through him. So you will stand in front of him. He's chanting, and then at some point he stops and he whispers to his assistant, and he writes down, "This is the name that you're given," and then you go and you give it to the fire, you burn it, and it's just a very beautiful ceremony. But this guy has never met me, and I haven't played an instrument or opened my mouth in that ceremony like even one time, and he gives me the name of Wabi, which is a weird funny name. and I ask his assistant, like, okay, that's cool, but what does it mean? And it's like Song of the Universe. Like, oh wow, that's interesting.
What?
And I'm not one to, like, I'm a fairly level-headed guy. I don't really believe in a lot of stuff, to be honest. I think magic is awesome, but it's not really my thing. But something about that experience was just very
profound.
Yeah.
I'd say Wabi, Song of the Universe.
So
well, you definitely.
I'm trying to live up to that.
I think you're doing it. Yeah. So thank you, Wabi.
Yeah.
All right, brother.
Thank you. Thank you, Season.
Pleasure. Let's go sing some songs.
Yes.
Bye, everybody. Talk to you in the next episode. Tune in. Bye-bye.